Hi, I'm Robbie Lawler.
What's up, Fight Family? This is your favorite MMA coach, Thiago Alves, the Pitbull.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Pedro Munoz.
This is Mike Brown.
Guys, I'm Aleksei Oleinik. And welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And this is We Want One Picks.
And you're watching We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks. Hi, everybody from American Top Picks.
My name's Angelo, and welcome back to We Want Picks. We have a week off, and now we are rolling right in to UFC 273. I've actually broken this card down 3 times already because of the insane amount of fight drops and fight. We don't see it very often, but swapping opponents, the whole thing. But Jacob and I, together, are going to break down the entire UFC 273 fight card. We're going to give you our picks, our predictions. We're going to give you our bets and our fantasy plays. Make sure you like the stream. Make sure you subscribe. And if you want 50 free bucks, make sure you go to wewantpicks.com/bets. Anybody who goes there, signs up with one of our betting partners and makes a deposit, gets 50 bucks. Literally that simple. wewantpicks.com/bets. We have 5 betting partners. Sign up with any one of them. Make a deposit. Let us know after you do. And we send you $50. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. As a thank you, wewantpicks.com/bets. And this stream is brought to you by Earn You. Earn You is the world's first sports and esports prediction game, allowing you to earn crypto completely risk-free. Check that out now at earnu.io. And ODDSJAM. ODDSJAM has the fastest real-time data to spot discrepancies between different sportsbooks, and it helps users make risk-free bets. Check them out at oddsjam.com, and they are literally perfect for some of these fights where the lines are moving. And what they do is they will just basically let you know if one book is falling behind, and you can catch a line before they catch up to it. Jakey boy, you excited for this week? This is actually a really good fight card, and it's a lot trickier than people think.
I'm real excited, Angelo. Ready to get started.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why every underdog on this card is going to win. Stay tuned.
Okay. Well, anybody new here? That's not normally how he talks. So we're jumping right in, but I'm serious. This is a little bit of a trickier. A couple of fights are super obvious, but there's 14 fights on this card, and a bunch of them are super tricky. Yes, small, red-headed boy in the back. How can I help you?
I was just the background here. Can you explain that? That's like Florida background? Is that supposed to be Jacksonville or?
These are the colors of the card. I mean, every week. Look, see, this is the official UFC. So this is the turquoise because they're going to be in Jacksonville, and I guess turquoise is a Jacksonville thing. The Jaguars.
Right.
So
Jaguars.
Listen, man, it's the little details that separates us from every other schmo that just has Tapology on in the background.
Ordinary and extraordinary. Just that little extra.
That's it. Everybody else has Tapology. I'm over here making custom graphics. I never used Photoshop a day in my life until this channel. But let's jump right in. I see your comment, Plague Runner, officially banned. First up, at UFC 273, we have Julio Arce taking on Daniel Santos. Julio Arce, 17-5 overall. He's 2-3 in his last 5, coming off the TKO loss to Song Yadong. Daniel Santos, 10-1 overall. He's 4-1 in his last 5, making his UFC debut. Julio Arce is a striker with solid volume and good defense. He's able to come forward with his power, but still counter strike while he's doing that, and things come back his way. He utilizes both his hands and his feet, and he moves really well, which is why he isn't hit very often. The problem is, though, when he does get hit, you cannot always count on his chin. He has wrestling in his back pocket, and he may use it in this matchup. Daniel Santos is making his UFC debut here. There's a lot of fighters on this card making their UFC debuts. Daniel Santos is one of them. He's an old shoot-a-box fighter. And if you don't know what shoot-box is, look at Vanderlei Silva. That's the shoot-box style. He basically, you come forward with a real tight guard, and literally when you get into that pocket, those hands just absolutely explode. Super fast, super powerful. He has solid leg kicks and a clear understanding of violence. He has very good BJJ from bottom, but he can be taken down pretty easily. And even though his BJJ is good, it's that old shoot box logic where they literally use jujitsu. So instead of working for scrambles and instead of using jujitsu to create an opportunity to stand back up or create space, they're literally trying to work submissions, and he can end up on his back just losing minutes in a fight. Right now, the odds have Julio Arce as a 2-1 favorite, and I have to imagine it's because Daniel Santos is making his UFC debut, but Santos is very dangerous. He can have the same success against Arce that Song Yadong did with that solid power, that come forward striking style. I do like Arce to win, but I think it's honestly because of the wrestling he has in his back pocket. I think he can work in a few well-timed takedowns, and then once you start doing that, you get your opponent worrying about both the striking and the wrestling. But if he keeps it a straight-up kickboxing match, I do like Santos to win that. He comes forward, he has power, he misses things up well. So Julio Arce is the pick, but the bet to place here is Daniel Santos wins inside the distance, but a decision is no action because Daniel Santos is tough. I don't see him getting finished, but he can win by stoppage. And all that bet means is if Daniel Santos wins inside the distance, submission, knockout, then you get paid. If he loses a decision, you get a refund. The bet never happened. You're only going to get that at Bet Online. WeWantPicks.com/bets. Jump in there, make a deposit, and we'll send you $50 as a thank you. Jakey boy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree with that inside the distance because Santos is wild enough and powerful enough to knock out Arce. If this card starts off with Arce just getting absolutely flatlined by some wild spinning attack from Santos, I will not be surprised. I've never seen anyone with 2 spinning back kicks finishes. So he's got the Joe Rogan spinning back kick. He's finished 2 people with it. He also does like spinning elbows. He does all sorts of spinning stuff. He's going to be a top in there trying to knock Arce out. I don't think he gets it done. You mentioned his takedown defense. I actually think it's better than what you say it is. So if Arce tries to grapple, I don't think he needs to do that. I think he should be able to win the striking if he stays out of the wild stuff. Doesn't really get in those big wild exchanges with Santos because Santos has the power, as you mentioned. If he does some weird stuff happens, especially in front of live crowds on pay-per-view cards. So this will be a fun fight to start the card off. It'll be exciting, but I think this is an Arce play pretty much all the way. If he's on his back foot, I don't like him quite as much. I like him to be that pressure guy. So if Santos is able to dictate that pressure early, maybe land a power shot early, this could be a live bet situation. But Arce, if he's moving forward, he's doing his thing, he should definitely dominate this fight.
Yep, I think Arce is the better fighter, but Daniel Santos is by far the more dangerous fighter. So that's a perfect spot for inside the distance decision, no action bet. So I will place that. And Jesse Correa in the comments just let us know that is at plus 130. That's a fantastic bet. So I absolutely will be placing that. DraftKings, we both think Julio Arce wins. I don't know about you, but 0% chance I spend $9,000 on that dude. No way.
No, not as dangerous as Santos is. If Santos was just kind of like not a power guy or not, just kind of another guy maybe, but he does wild stuff, man. So yeah, I'm not taking that risk.
No, absolutely not. I'm not going to throw Daniel Santos in there either. $7,200. It's a nice price point. He can be live for a stoppage, of course, but yeah, there's a lot of fighters on this card. That's not worth it. We already talked about the bet that we like. What do you think of Monkey Knife Fight? Anybody who doesn't know what that is, it's daily fantasy. Essentially, this is how many strikes they're saying will be landed by each person. You say more or less, and if you're right, you make some money. It's that simple. WeOwnPicks.com/MKF if you want to check that out. I think if Arce wins, it's a more. If Santos wins, it's a less. I think it's that simple. You like more?
Yeah, so probably
more.
Yeah,
I agree. It probably is a more. That's not anybody new. That's not a ton of strikes, especially for 2 bantamweights that are somewhat busy. That's a solid line there. Next up at UFC 273, we have Piera Rodriguez taking on Kay Hansen. Piera Rodriguez is 7-0 overall, 5-0 in her last 5. She's coming off a Contender Series win just a few months ago and an LFA title win right before that. Kay Hansen is 7-5 overall, 3-2 in her last 5, riding a 2-fight skid. Piera Rodriguez, she's a nasty striker. She's got very real finishing ability. She plots forward and lets her hands fly. I call it, I've been saying this all week, like a controlled brawl where she's very calculated in what she's doing, but she wings the punches. They do look wild, and she puts her hips into absolutely everything that she throws. She has pretty good takedown defense, and she is defensively sound on the ground. She has her own takedowns as well, but you're going to see the stats in a second. Don't let those stats fool you. She is not a wrestler. She is absolutely a striker. Kay Hansen is incredibly young. She made her UFC debut at only 20 years old. She's a short, powerful grappler who likes to bob and weave her way into the clinch and then bully from there. The first time we broke her down, I said she's got the Mike Tyson, real tight, coming in like this and then bombs away, pushes you against the cage, drops down to a leg, and then works takedowns. She'll even lift you clean off the ground. After she gets the takedown, she immediately starts working for submissions. And on the surface, you might say, oh, this is grappler versus striker, because Rodriguez is a striker, Kay Hansen's a grappler. But both of them are pretty well-rounded. Kay Hansen can bang, and then, she's not super technical, but she'll hang out in the pocket and exchange. Piera Rodriguez can grapple. She's certainly defensively sound, has some takedowns if she needs them. And Rodriguez doesn't look to push the wrestling offense, but her takedown defense really is good. And what she really does well that I absolutely love to see, I've wrestled my whole life, I've coached it, and what I love to see in some of those high-level wrestlers is when somebody gets in on their hips or is takes the shot and is working their way there, she just slams her hips forward, pressures forward, and just starts bombing away, and your offensive takedown just ends up with you basically shooting into a wall and then going backwards. And Rodriguez does that really, really well. And this is a tough pick, man, because I'm not going to flip here. I'm going to stick with my original pick this week. Kay Hansen is very good, but I really do see something special in Piera Rodriguez. She is nasty. Everything she does is mean, it's powerful, it's with intent. And what's really interesting is the odds have this at, basically even. Piera Rodriguez is a very small favorite, and she was an underdog when the line opened. So money came in on Piera later. I think recency bias is sort of helping Kay Hansen. I think Piera Rodriguez wins, but man, Kay Hansen's stupid live in this fight. What do you think?
So here's the deal. I would say 85% of the time I make picks with my brain. I look at the tape, I make picks with my brain. I would say 10%, 10% is probably fair with my heart. Sometimes you just got to follow your heart in the situation, at least 5%. I would say 5%, 5% of the time I make picks, I'm going Kay. Kay Hansen's going to win the fight. There's no doubt in my mind that Kay Hansen's win the fight. And I'll tell you right now, after last week, or I guess 2 weeks ago, lock of the week, we got 10, 2-1, picking all underdogs, guys. People will give you lock of the week. So they'll be like, oh my God, Chimiev is my lock of the week. No balls on these guys. I pick underdogs. I'm going all in. Kay Hansen is going to be the lock of the week. Let me tell you why. Piera Rodriguez, I agree. This is a tough one because she is good. But I saw some stuff in the film a few times where there was a fight against Gotsky.
The OnlyFans film or the
I'm talking Piera Rodriguez right now. Thank you. Let's try and stay on top of it. Let's not be perverted about this, okay? There was a fight against Gotsky with Piera Rodriguez. She did not want to go to the ground, right? You mentioned she's not a wrestler. She did not want to go to the ground. There was a couple times in some other fights I saw that when she went on the ground, she almost got armbarred immediately. It was out of position immediately, almost got armbarred. I don't know if that was that same fight. It was a girl that was really trying to pull guard and really wanted to grapple. And she said, that was trouble, right? She almost got armbarred in the situation. Kay Hansen, I think a lot of people are off of her because of her last fight. She was up in weight against a girl that was literally twice her size and was a silver medalist wrestler. And she still was in deep on some takedowns. It looked like she was about to get those takedowns, and that girl was just a little bit too big and knew what she was doing in those situations. In this fight, if she gets those same situations against Rodriguez, she's going to get her to the ground. And if she gets to the ground, she's going to submit her. And I see her very easily. If she wants to strike, I probably wouldn't do that against Rodriguez because she does have some real power, but she does have that high guard. You mentioned the Mike Tyson stance. I think she can get inside, get the takedowns, get the submission win, get out of there, and go back home doing whatever she does at home. I don't know. I wouldn't know what she does in her free time, but I like Kay Hansen, lock of the week, 100% all the way, and we're moving this thing to 11, 2, and 1. We're feeling good.
I'm not going to disagree with anything you said, honestly, because this was a really hard pick for me. Because Kay Hansen is very, very good. I picked against her in her last fight, but literally because Jasmine's wrestling scrambles were amazing, and that was the difference in that fight. This fight, so I talked about Piera Rodriguez's takedown defense. I love how she just throws her hips forward, pushes you to your back. Kay Hansen does sort of shoot takedowns. She does lower her level, but she also holds you against the cage. So, I'm not. This is a no bet fight. It's absolutely no bet. I got to make a pick because that's what we do here. But you know, I'm not going to disagree with you.
I'll tell you, I'm worried too about Rodriguez is her gas tank. I saw her in the third round of fights where she was almost running away from exchanges. You see, it was almost like the Conor McGregor when he was tired against Nate Diaz, where he's like, "Oh shit, I gotta get out of here." There was situations like that in the third round of fights. So if this keeps extending, I think Kay Hansen's definitely going to be able to get the takedowns late, if not early.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna disagree with you at all. So I think Piera Rodriguez wins. I think there's something special there, but Kay Hansen is very good. And frankly, if you're on that side, you're getting a discount because she lost 2 fights in a row, and people are stupid and just give up on fighters after a couple of losses. DraftKings, pick your side. I think they're both priced really well, honestly. Piera Rodriguez can win by finish. Kay Hansen can get a whole bunch of takedowns, whole bunch of control time, and a submission. So I think either one of them are appropriate for your lineup if you feel strongly about your side. You agree?
Yeah, I think this is definitely a close fight and could go either way, but you know, I'm confident my girl can.
Yep. I don't know what to do with Monkey Knife Fight because Piera Rodriguez's line is pretty high and Kay Hansen's is low if she gets to do what she wants to do. So, I probably less on Piera Rodriguez for sure. For sure less on her. And probably more on Kay Hansen if you think Kay Hansen wins. So it's either less or less more, depending on what side you're on. What do you think?
I think it's less.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you want to place a bet, go to weonpicks.com/bets. We have 5 partners. Sign up with any of them. Make a deposit. We send you $50 as a thank you. And if you want to check out Monkey Knife Fight, weonpicks.com/MKF. They'll instantly match your deposit up to $100. Next up, at UFC 273, we have Anthony Fluffy Hernandez taking on Josh Fremd. Anthony Hernandez is 8-2 overall, 2-2-1 in his last 5. He's coming off that giant upset win over Rodolfo Vieira. Josh Fremd is 9-2 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, making his UFC debut. And he's coming off a submission win less than just 2 months ago. This is an interesting matchup here because Anthony Hernandez was originally supposed to fight Dricus du Plessis. Kelvin Gastelum lost his opponent. The UFC said, ooh, we love Dricus. Let's throw him on the main card against Kelvin. We can showcase, blah, blah, blah. That fight fell apart. Anthony Hernandez gets to remain on the card, and he has a last-minute late replacement, Josh Fremd. Anthony Hernandez, he's a very good grappler, and the only reason most people even know his name is because he has better cardio than Rodolfo Vieira. If you don't remember that fight, essentially Rodolfo Vieira took down Anthony Hernandez 4 times, controlled the hell out of him, beat him up pretty bad, and then gassed harder than anybody has ever gassed in any fight ever. Hernandez was in shape, obviously. He was well prepared, saw his opportunity, and he ended up submitting the world champion black belt, Rodolfo Vieira. Outside of that fight, he's had sort of mixed success. He's got solid takedowns. He does have a BJJ black belt. And although he is willing to strike, that's never his path to victory. Josh Fremd is a grappler with solid athleticism, and he does have some sneaky power in his punches. He's had a lot of success in the LFA. His only loss over there was to Gregory Rodriguez, who's in the UFC now, and he's on his own little streak. He is coming off a win on Dana White's Looking for a Fight show. That's basically Contender Series, but instead of being at the Apex, it's at regional shows. And, you know, in that fight, that Dana White Looking for a Fight where he won, he did have a little trouble with the striking, but he was able to get it to the ground, and then he got it done there, and that's where he got his contract. And it's an interesting matchup because I think it's a much better matchup for Anthony Hernandez than his original opponent. Both of these guys are grapplers. Neither guy really looks very comfortable when they're striking. I think Hernandez is the better, just pure, raw grappler. Like, if it was a grappling tournament, I think Hernandez would win in that matchup. And he obviously has more experience, or at least more experience at this level. But Josh is the more athletic guy, and he's evolving really fast. I did this whole, I talked about this in the Quick Picks video. I put a lot of stock in athleticism because if you're an athlete, you can learn at a faster pace. You can do, Jacob. You can do things in that fight that a non-athlete can't do. And we're starting to hit the era, we're at like what, UFC, you could call it Gen 3, Gen 1, Royce Gracie, Gen 2 was, I don't know, Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell, and now Generation 3 is, these guys
Conor
here.
McGregor.
And everybody Yeah. Everybody is an athlete. So,
Ryan,
we're
I
still
agree,
weeding.
Ryan Hall's an athlete.
We're still weeding out a few, and there's people like Anthony Hernandez, and Hernandez isn't necessarily a pure athlete, couldn't be a professional in another sport, where Josh Fremd has that ridiculous athleticism. And there's a lot of stock to be put in that. The last comparison I'll make here, and I'm not saying Josh Fremd is like George St. Pierre because they're nothing. You cannot make that comparison. But I use George St. Pierre as the bar for athleticism because the dude never wrestled a day in his life, ever. He was a karate guy, started doing MMA, learned to wrestle as an adult, and then literally ended up being the best wrestler in the UFC as far as, getting the takedowns and controlling from there. So athleticism means a lot. That's a very long rant about athleticism. And that is what it makes this pick so tough because I do think neither guy is a great striker. Both are good grapplers. Anthony's a better grappler. Anthony has better, he's has more experience. But Josh Fremd's a better athlete and he's a capable guy. I like Anthony Hernandez to win, but it is so stupid razor thin. And I opened this whole card breakdown saying this is a much tougher card to pick than a lot of people think because people are only focusing on the big 3 fights, and those are pretty straightforward. These undercards, every single one of them could go the other way. What do you think, Jackie boy?
Yeah, let me preface this too with I'm staying away from this fight completely, and I 100% agree. If this wasn't a short notice fight, and this is literally like a week's notice fight for Josh, if this was not short notice, I'm pretty sure I would pick him to win because I agree. I think he's a better athlete. I think he's a better striker, and I think on the ground, it's in the wrestling. I think it's pretty even. I think in the pure jiu-jitsu, I agree. I think Hernandez definitely has that advantage, but I think this easily comes down to who is able to offensive wrestle. I think that if it's in the striking, I think it's kind of a wash, but Josh, I'm worried about the short notice. Maybe he tires out because you saw Anthony persevere. We've seen him persevere in fights. I think even in that Jordan Wright fight, he was kind of hurt a little bit and then ended up knocking Jordan Wright out. But this is, I think whoever is able to offensive wrestle the other person, that's the path to victory for both of them. So we'll see how it plays out. I will say that I watched a Josh fight that was actually kind of funny because it was a fight versus who was it? Dino Juklo. It was an amateur fight, but you guys got to watch that fight. It was like two people. It was like identical twins that fought. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. It was so crazy that the announcers, Josh got an armbar victory, and then the announcer said that he lost. And it was like 2 or 3 minutes of saying like, yeah, Josh just got armbar, and they're like, wait, oh no, Josh won because they look like identical. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Anyway, I'm picking Anthony Hernandez too. Completely staying away from this with money, with everything else, with DraftKings because I don't trust him. But I think he's the pick because he's been here and he has experience, I guess. So see what happens.
No, I completely agree. Experience absolutely matters. We'll talk about that more specifically in another fight on this card. So we're both aligned here. Josh Fremd. The problem is I wish he was like a 3-1 underdog and then he's worth it. But this pricing, neither guy is worth it. Anthony Hernandez is absolutely not a 2-1 favorite. Josh Fremd should be.
Yeah, I think they're moving the other way, so you might get it because I think it opened at -150 or something for Anthony, and it keeps moving. So we'll see. We might get better odds later in the week.
Yeah, listen, I'll grab Josh Fremd. I'll throw a couple bucks on him
good
just
for
to see
that.
what happens.
What's good for that is ODDSJAM.
ODDSJAM is good for that. Hey, nice plug. We appreciate our sponsors here. ODDSJAM actually really is good for that. If you want to go to oddsjam.com, they literally have, any nerds here know what I'm talking about, APIs into all your favorite sports books that just pulls back the real-time odds because, odds are updating throughout the day as money comes in. They pull back all of those real-time odds for every book, and then you can just see who's lagging, who's not moving as quick, and you can just spot the best odd, and then right from there, jump in and place your bet. So anyway, we're aligned in our thinking here. I'm not spending the DraftKings money on either guy. $8,700. That's almost $9,000. Like, no way. I do not trust that at all. Monkey knife fight. It's probably more and more. I think they go at it. Probably a decision. I think they just start swinging wild. The stupid little pitter patter punches against the cage for takedown defense. What do you think?
I just thought about this because we're like so far off of Anthony. Like, oh no, I wouldn't spend it because I feel the same way. I wouldn't spend it. He's probably gonna get a first round submission or something stupid. He's probably gonna be like the highest scoring DraftKings person or whatever. But yeah, I would stay away from it. And the monkey knife fight, probably more and more.
Yeah, I'm more confident in the monkey knife fight for sure because I do think they go at it. And if Anthony loses, I think it's just Josh being a little faster, a little strong. Just that athleticism is just that tiny edge to get through it. And if you want to get through the rest of your week with an extra $50 in your pocket, go to weonpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners, make a deposit, let us know after you do. We send you $50 as a thank you. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. It's that simple. $50 for free. WeOwnPicks.com/bets. Next up, at UFC 273, we have Aleksei Oleinik taking on Vanderaa. Aleksei Oleinik, 59-16. He's 2-3 in his last 5, and he's riding a 3-fight skid. Vanderaa is 12-7 overall, 2-3 in his last 5 as well, coming off a very close loss to Andrei Arlovski. This is a weird fight. Aleksei Oleinik was supposed to fight 2 weeks ago at UFC Columbus. Ilir Latifi pulled out like a couple of hours before that fight. So he didn't.
We know why. We found out why.
Jacob had Aleksei as his lock of the week. Then they rebooked that exact fight for this card, and Ilir Latifi pulled out again. So now Aleksei Oleinik remains on the card. Vanderaa steps up on short notice. So Aleksei Oleinik has had more than a full camp. Jared has not. Aleksei Oleinik, you may recognize him from the opener to our big videos. He's
Vant Picks.
He's Vant Picks in the opener of our videos. And I enjoyed picking Aleksei Oleinik against Ilir Latifi. I liked him in the underdog spot. So did Jacob. But this is a very different fight. Aleksei, he's a ridiculously experienced grappler. He has a very high finish rate. His chin is pretty gone. I mean, he's 45 years old. His cardio is not great. His wrestling could use some work. But he can literally submit anybody from anywhere on the ground, even if it's very ugly getting to the ground. I've said this the last couple of weeks, but just think of Aleksei Oleinik as an older Paul Craig. It doesn't matter what's happening to him. If it gets to the ground, he will probably submit you. And Vanderaa is a volume striker. He built his pre-UFC career on his grappling, though. And breaking down his UFC fights on the regional scene breaking down his UFC fights and comparing them to his fights on the regional scene, you would literally think you're looking at a completely different person, because on the regional scene, he's a big bully grappler. In the UFC, he's a straight up striker. And if you watch those fights, he dominated Justin Tafa with the striking. Very, very close fight against Andrei Arlovski with the striking. He outstruck Andrei 70-64. He's got a long jab, solid distance control, and clean striking, in addition to the fact that he's massive. And he does have wrestling in his back pocket. He hasn't showcased it yet, but that wrestling is there. And it's easy to say that Aleksei Oleinik is 2-3 in his last 5 and that he's on a 3-fight skid. But if you look at the 3 losses, he lost to Spivak, Dawkins, and Derek Lewis. All 3 of them have already beaten or would beat Vanderaa. And Vanderaa is also 2-3 in his last 5, but his losses are a split decision to Andrei Arlovski, where I mentioned he outstruck him. He lost to Romanov, who's a freaking beast. And he lost to Spivak, who lately has been looking like a beast. And he was taken down and just sort of stopped in both of those fights. And on the surface, you might say, okay, well, Vanderaa, when he loses, he's taken down and he's beaten up from there. Oleinik's a grappler, so that's straightforward. But it's not, because the problem is Oleinik has very poor takedowns. His takedown offense is not very good. And without the takedown offense, he's sort of stuck on his feet in a striking match with Vanderaa. When Aleksei Oleinik was fighting Ilir Latifi, we were positive Ilir was going to take Aleksei Oleinik down. Positive that was going to happen. And once it hits the ground, that's exactly where Oleinik wants to be. I don't see this fight getting to the ground. I just don't see any world where Aleksei Oleinik is outstriking Vanderaa. You guys can clown him because he's had a little bit of a rough run, but look who he's lost to, look how he's lost to them, and look how good he looks in his wins. I like Vanderaa here. I have a 1-unit money line bet on him as well. I got it at -115. Again, go to oddsjam.com and you can get some better odds if you follow all the different books. Jakey boy, are you bailing on your former lock of the week?
Yeah, this is a really unfortunate situation, because I love them. You loved them against Latifi. I absolutely love them against Latifi. Just because Latifi was an undersized guy, right? So if they went to the ground, I was confident Oleinik's ability to win scrambles, end up in positions where he could get submissions. In this situation, if Jared decides for some reason, honestly, he seems like a guy that would try to take Oleinik down for some reason. Because if you're on the feet, you're going to have the advantage. You can probably knock Oleinik out inside of the first round, inside the first 2 minutes, if you just lay volume on him, right? It doesn't even take a hard shot. Just lay volume on him And I think there was one knockout. It was like just a standing TKO. Oleinik literally was just standing against the fence, and somebody was just boom, 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 and he just didn't move. And the ref was like, all right, I got to stop the fight. You could win that very easily, Jared, if you do that. He seems like a guy that might be like, oh, I'm going to take Oleinik down. And then he ends up getting submitted. But I like the Oleinik against Latifi because I thought he could win scrambles against a smaller guy. Jared is not a small guy. His nickname is the Mountain for a reason. He's a true heavyweight. So even if Jared does take him down, or say Oleinik tries to take him down, I think Jared ends up on top. And he might even be able to control those positions with his wrestling with Oleinik on the bottom. I don't think that's what he should do. But if it does end up on the ground, he still could even control those positions and not get submitted by Oleinik. This is 100%. I thought that Oleinik could win a wrestling match versus Latifi and maybe win a decision. I know a lot of people were like, submission or bust. He's got to get a sub. I thought he could win a wrestling match. In this, it's submission or bust right here for Oleinik. He's got to hope that the fight ends up on the ground and he can do something off his back to win a submission. Maybe he can. I really want to pick him. I think it's a safe play here, unfortunately, is Jared Vanderaa. I love my man Oleinik, but it's a toss-up. I got to go with Jared because he's better on the feet.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, you know, when we break down Mackenzie Dern, I'll do my rant there. But you can be as the greatest ground fighter in the history of the ground. But if you can't get it there, then, you know, that skill set isn't very helpful. DraftKings, we do not see this very often at all. 8,100, split down the freaking middle. Jared Vanderaa might be worth your lineup, man. Like, you know, the problem is it's just a million significant strikes. I don't know if he stops Aleksei, but, you know, he may be worth throwing in your lineup. I probably won't, honestly, but he may be worth that. Odds, I already told you I got a one. Or sorry, you agree with the DraftKings?
Yeah, he's probably worth like a multi lineup for a first round knockout type thing, but I don't trust him. I literally think he'll come and shoot a takedown and get submitted. It just seems like something he would do.
Yeah, that would be absurd, but yeah, it is what it is. The odds, I already told you, I got a 1 unit money line bet on Jared Vanderaa. I got it at minus 115. It's at 110 right now. And then Monkey Knife Fight, I think it's more and more. I think it stays on his feet. I think it's just volume. I think this looks like the Taffa fight, or at least 3/4 of the Taffa fight, or Taffa. So I like more and more in Monkey Knife Fight. What do you think?
I don't like it.
You don't like it? Well, pick your side at wewantpicks.com/MKF. They will instantly match your deposit. It is daily fantasy. It's super legal, super easy, super fun. It's an app on your phone. It's a website, wewantpicks.com/MKF. And if you want $50 for free, $50, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, go to wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit. Let us know after you do. And I send you $50 as a thank you. It is literally that simple. Then we have... no, let me do the proper intro. Next up, at UFC 273, we have Vinc from Hell Pichel taking on Mark Madsen. Vinc Pichel, 14-2 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off a decision win over Austin Hubbard. Mark Madsen, 11-0 overall, 5-0 in his last 5, coming off a striking match win over Clay Guida. And Vinc from Hell Pichel, I freaking love that nickname. I love the rhyming nicknames, as dumb as it sounds. Anyway,
this is 2 great nicknames because it's the Olympian.
That's a little on the nose because he literally was an Olympian. That's actually kind of stupid. So thanks for the input, though.
I mean, that's an awesome nickname. Not many people are Olympians.
Anyway, Vinc Pichel. He's a pretty good striker, and he moves in and out really well. He has lots of movement. He picks his shots well. I wouldn't say he's technical, but he does time things well. I keep using the word well here. And I wouldn't say he's technical, but he does time things well. I'm just going to nail that one home. He also has solid offensive wrestling when he uses it, and he averages more than 3 takedowns per fight. But what's most surprising is even though he has very good offensive wrestling, he gets taken down very often. Gregor Gillespie took him down 7 times. Roosevelt Roberts took him down twice. Jim Miller took him down twice. Austin Hubbard took him down 4 times. The dude gets taken down. Mark Madsen is an Olympic Greco-Roman wrestler, and previously, every other breakdown before this, we would say Mark Madsen's striking is not very good, but he just won a 3-round decision against Clay Guida with 0 takedowns. The haters in the comment section early on said, well, he had no takedowns because he couldn't get them. He only attempted 1. He only attempted one single takedown against Clay Guida, and that's because he didn't need to attempt any more. He was winning those striking exchanges, and he has a positive striking differential. He's got very real power in his hands, and even though his striking has improved, he was absolutely wrestle here. He took Austin Hubbard down 8 times in that win, and if you look at a lot of his wins, tons and tons of wrestling, and that's what I'm going to be counting on him for in this fight. And breaking down this fight, you know, I do all of my notes, I do all my research, and then I look at the odds. The odds are the thing I look at last because sometimes those odds will sway you, right? I'll look at the odds, see somebody's a favorite, and I'm just looking at it through that lens. This fight, I did not look at the odds, and when I pulled them up, I was surprised that Vinc Pichel was the favorite. Genuinely surprised. This dude only has a 25% takedown defense, is taken down by basically every single person he's ever fought, win or lose. Mark Madsen, an Olympic Greco wrestler. Yes, he's a little older. He can be chinny at times, but I see you guys in the comments.
Pichel is the older fighter.
Yeah, he is, but Mark is like wearing his age a little worse. But like,
I think he looks great. I think he wears the bald head very well.
Good for him. I will not look that good bald. And I see you guys in the comments saying, well, did you see the Austin Hubbard fight? He was almost finished. But he wasn't finished. But he wasn't. He's 11-0. He was not finished. And that matters very much. I think Mark should be the favorite. I see him just wrestle. Vinc Pichel gets taken down constantly. He outstruck Clay Guida 98-72 in that fight. And Vinc Pichel's whole striking style is just a lot of movement. Clay Guida is probably the most movement-heavy guy in the division, and Mark Madsen was able to get that done. Mark Madsen is the pick. I'm probably going to do a money line bet on him. I haven't yet. Or a plus 3.5. If I can get good odds on that, I'll probably do the plus 3.5 then. Because his cardio worries me just a little bit. If you don't know what plus 3.5 is, you basically buy one single round on the judge's scorecard. So as long as Mark Madsen wins one round on his own, I bought another round, and then my bet cashes. You're only going to get that at weonpicks.com/bets. And BetOnline is the one partner that offers that. Jakey boy, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. The cardio, you mentioned the Clay Guida fight. His cardio was fine in that fight, but he didn't wrestle, right? And I think that was the point of that fight. He was like, why would I try and gas myself out trying to wrestle Clay Guida, who is like impossible to wrestle? We've seen him, and he just his movement is crazy. He's a good wrestler in his own right. He can offensive wrestle. So I think Mark Madsen went in that fight and said, I don't want to gas myself out trying to shoot takedowns on this guy. That's going to be hard to take down. So let me just strike with this guy, see how it plays out. He was having success, so he just stuck with it. It was a close decision. It was a split decision, but he won the fight. He came through, and I think a lot of people watched that fight, and his stock kind of dropped it a little bit, right? They watch it like, oh, it's Clay Guida, but Clay Guida's looked great in a lot of fights lately. And you mentioned he didn't need the takedowns to win the fight, so he won the striking exchange. I thought that it rose his stock. And when I did the same thing, when I broke down this fight, the first text I sent you was, Mark Madsen is an underdog? I was like, what am I seeing that everyone else is seeing that Mark Madsen is underdog in this fight? Because if you look at Vinc Pichel, very good, right? He's very good. He's a decent wrestler in his own right, but you mentioned the takedown defense against Gregor Gillespie, 7 of 9. Against Hubbard, 4 of 7. Jim Miller, 2 of 3. Roosevelt Roberts, 2 of 3. People that want to take him down can take him down. And this is the Olympian Mark Madsen. If he wants to take Vinc Pichel down, which I think he will, he's going to take him down. After the Clay Guida fight, he called out Gregor Gillespie. He said, I heard that there's somebody in my division that says they're the best wrestler. So I think he really wants to get back to his wrestling roots, right? He did the Clay Guida thing. He won the striking bout. Let me buckle down and show everyone what I'm all about. I think he comes in and honestly kind of dominates his fight. And be honest with you, Angelo, for the first time ever, I'm pretty sure the first time ever.
Oh my God, you have 2 lock of the weeks?
We're doing 2 lock of the weeks. UFC 273. We missed last week. We have no fights last week. I got to make it up to my people. K. Hansen, lock of the week. Our second lock of the week is Mark Madsen, man. We're going 2 for 2. We're gonna be 12-2-1 after UFC 273. We're feeling good about it. I like Mark Madsen all the way in this fight. I'm actually, the thing that worries me the most, honestly, is that a lot of people are on Mark Madsen. There's a lot of people that are picking him, putting him in parlays. That worries me a little bit, but I see where they're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, listen, all we can do is use the facts in front of us, use what we've seen before, and make educated decisions.
They did move this to the main card.
Oh, they moved this?
Yeah, it's a main card opener now.
Oh, my bad. I just snipped at somebody. I'm very snippy.
Yeah,
today.
no, I saw that.
I just snipped at somebody in the comments. I didn't know this was the main card opener. I just reorganized this whole thing like earlier today. When did they move it around?
It's on Tapology right now, so it must have just happened.
Okay. Well, anyway, DraftKings $7,800, probably not a bad play, man. If you think he gets all those takedowns, that's probably not bad at all. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, let's say he does get tired and maybe gets finished in the third. He might have 10 takedowns literally before, because somebody mentioned in the chat, Vinc Pichel does get back to his feet, but when you get back to your feet and get taken back down, it's 5 points, 5 points, 5 points. He could lose in the third round and still be a good DraftKings play.
Yep. Nope. Completely agree. Not as long as he sticks to the wrestling game plan, which, he should. Monkey knife fight. It's probably more and more. I don't see a stoppage here. I really don't. I mean, Vinc Pichel's got some hands. Mark Madsen actually has legit power in his hands too, but I don't see a stoppage. Two older guys going at it, both good offensive wrestling. I think they go at it. It's probably more, or maybe less more if you think Vince is on his back the entire fight. What do you think?
I think it's more and more. I think that Mark, even if he gets him to ground, softens him up a little bit. Vince back to his feet, softens him up, a little striking. So it's probably more and more play. And I will say, I have a oh boy, I kind of forgot I placed this. I have speaking of Mark Madsen and K. Hansen, a lock of the week. We have double lock of the week. So I put a parlay bet on Mackenzie and K, a 5-unit parlay bet on both of them. So.
Oof. Jesus. Good luck.
Lock of the week. Hey, I put my money where my mouth is.
All right. Well, you want 50 free bucks to not put that much money on the fights like Jacob did? Go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. We have 5 different betting partners. Sign up with any one of them. Make a deposit. Let us know after you do. We send you $50 as a thank you. And if you want to check out Monkey Knife Fight, go to WeWantPicks.com/MKF. It is daily fantasy. It's honestly super fun. And all you need to do is say more or less on the strike line in front of you on the screen. And if you're right, you win money. That simple, that easy. Ton of fun. WeWantPicks.com/MKF. And next up at UFC 273, we have Mickey Gall taking on Mike Malott. Mickey Gall 7-4 overall, 2-3 in his last 5. He's coming off a decision loss to Alex Morono. Mike Malott 7-1 overall, 3-1-1 in his last 5. He's coming off a submission win on the Contender Series. And Mickey's a pretty good grappler. He's got submissions from both top and off his back. And he feels very raw, but he's been around for a long time. When he gets on top, he's got good pressure, but he only has a 27% takedown accuracy. His stand-up is not great, and he does have a negative striking differential. For every 3 significant strikes he lands, he is hit with 4. But Mickey Gall is better than those stats, or at least if you're watching him, you don't realize how bad he is statistically, if that makes any sense. Meaning, if you watch Mickey Gall's fights, you would assume he had better than 27% takedown defense. You would not really realize that he was hit 4 times for every 3 that he hits his opponent. So his stats are a little worse than his actual performances. Mike Malott is a pretty well-rounded guy. He has a very loose striking style, which allows him to box and kickbox pretty easily. His hands can be low at times, which makes him hittable, but he is technically sound and he manages range well. He's sort of this new generation of fighter that isn't one specific style. He can wrestle, he can grapple, he can strike, he can do all the things. And his entire family is professional athletes, like a John Jones situation. And you break down Mickey Gall's fights, it's always interesting because he shot to stardom after he beat CM Punk years ago. And I've said this many times, I think that's the worst thing that ever happened to him. Because instead of having the luxury of learning on the local level and learning against opponents at the same level as you in local shows and building your ways up, his second fight ever was in the UFC. His third fight ever was a giant fight against like one of the most famous wrestlers on the planet. And he won that fight. And then he actually won a couple good fights after that. And the whole world was like, oh my God, is Mickey Gall like really this good? And then he was stuck fighting at a really high level, literally stuck fighting very good UFC fighters. And that's why his record is 7-4. And again, he didn't have the luxury that Mike Malott did of fighting lesser opponents and getting better the normal way. And I think all of that matters. I genuinely think that matters because I think Mickey's wrestling is better than Mike's. I think his BJJ is also better than Mike's. I like Mickey to win a decision here. I think he's good, man. I think he can grapple. I think he's a better striker. And experience is absolutely 100% a factor. This will be Mickey Gall's, 10th time doing this in this cage under these lights against an opponent at actually a higher level than this. And this is Mike Malott. Like, he literally was crying when he got the call to be into the UFC. I think it's skill level. Mickey Gall's a little bit better, but I think the experience level at the UFC, big gap there. And I think that matters. And Mickey's the pick. And I have a money line bet on Mickey Gall, by the way, at plus 165 or something. Go ahead, Jacob.
You gonna throw it to me, or are you just gonna stop talking?
Go ahead, Jay. I stopped talking. It was obvious. Go.
All right. Yeah, I think this is honestly the most disrespectful shit I've ever seen in my life. Mickey Gall, I understand he's 7-4. He did kind of get beat up in his last fight versus Alex Moreno, but these guys are almost, I don't want to say carbon copies of each other, but they fight very similar, right? They're sneaky with their jiu-jitsu. They both want to kind of wrestle, but they got, decent striking. I think Mickey Gall, and he said it himself, I think he's better everywhere. I honestly think that he's better everywhere. If I'm Mickey Gall in this fight, I instantly just shoot a double. Mike Malott has been out of the first round once in his career. It was a majority draw. And it was in Bellator, but it was a majority. He's been out of the first round once. And the level of competition he's fought is kind of the reason for that. He just comes in and just does whatever he wants. If I'm Mickey Gall, I come in. He's got the new camp. He's talked about it, Sanford MMA. He went down there or up there, wherever the hell it is, from where he's at. He went there.
South Florida. There's no up.
Well, you never. I mean, Texas, Hawaii, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, he went to Sanford MMA on an invite. They said, Mickey, come here. I think we can help you out. And he was like, I'll get a one-way ticket. I don't know if I'm going to stay. He absolutely loved it. And I think that's a great camp for him to be in because I think it's going to be wrestling focused. And if he can put wrestling together with his very, very slick jiu-jitsu, he is one of the slickest jiu-jitsu guys in that welterweight division. If he can put wrestling on top of that, and I think Sanford MMA is going to do that, I think he should almost dominate this fight. I would come across, shoot a takedown immediately, make this guy respect you for who you are and the fighter that you are. Mike Malott is the team alpha male guy. They call him Team Guillotine. In his last fight, he shot a guillotine. If you're Mickey Gall, avoid the guillotine, shoot those takedowns, win this fight. And I'll tell you right now, Angelo, for the first time ever, I have never done this. God. For the first time ever, we don't have one lock of the week. Okay, we have two lock of the weeks. We are going to have 3 lock of the weeks because I could not decide between the 3 of them. I think they're all guaranteed wins. So I have 3 lock of the weeks this week. Kay Hansen, Mark Manson, and my man Mickey Gall. And a former lock of the week before. He's already won it before. He beat Jordan Williams, was the lock of the week. I'm going all in Mickey Gall. I have him in a parlay with the 3 favorites later on the main card. And those odds are crazy. I love Mickey Gall in this fight. I think he's better everywhere. I could see him getting a finish. Getting the back of Mike and just really showing him what the UFC is all about. I'm Mickey Gall all the way.
Yeah, we're completely aligned on this, and I think the experience is the biggest factor. Even if Mike Malott is better, which I don't think he is, the experience at this level, it matters very much. And
he talked about it. He kind of mentioned the interview I watched, not to interrupt a little bit, but he mentioned that these regional guys will come in and train with me and see my record and be like, I can take down Mickey Gall, I can do this and this. And the strength is different, the positions are different. He is a battle-tested guy, Mickey Gall is. So I like him in this fight.
No, I completely agree. And it's an interesting matchup that the UFC did. I think they're literally just testing Mike just to see. But he's a good-looking guy. He's got a good record. I imagine the UFC wants him to win, but, I guess we'll see what happens. I love Mickey Gall in DraftKings, $7,400. Listen, this week, there's a couple of massive favorites, and you're going to need at least 2 of them in your lineup. You're going to. So you're going to need some pretty heavy underdogs, and Mickey Gall fits that bill, $7,400. You're getting him under $8,000. That's a great price tag. What do you think? Yeah,
I'm worried that he might do something like pull guard and then he's getting beat on and stuff like that. But he seems confident. I love the Sanford MMA. I'm definitely taking the Mickey Gall $7,400.
Yeah,
I'm going to have my lineups going to be a little bit crazy. 3 lock of the weeks. It's going to be top heavy, bottom heavy, and we're feeling good.
All right. Sounds good there. And then the Monkey Knife Fight strike line, 37 to 53. I'm not touching it. I have no idea what to do with that strike line. I am not touching it. What do you think?
It's probably more and more. It's a little bit low because Mike has all those first round finishes, I think. But I think that it extends, if anything. I'd probably play them more.
Yeah, 53 is a lot for Mike Malott. It wasn't supposed to
All right,
rhyme.
then
It's
play the less. I'm playing more.
Yeah, I just don't know what to do with the line, so I'm not going to play it at all. Okay? How about that? But if you know what you want to do and you want to play that line, go to WeWantPicks.com/MKF. They will instantly match your deposit up to $100. It's daily fantasy, super easy, ton of fun. And if you want 50 free dollars, maybe you take that $50, you put it on Monkey Knife Fight. If you want 50 free bucks, go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit. Let me know after you do. And we send you $50 as a thank you for supporting us and our partners. Then we've got Aspen Ladd taking on short notice replacement Raquel Pennington. Aspen Ladd is 9-2 overall, 4-1 in her last 5, and she's riding a 3-fight win streak. Sorry, Raquel Pennington. That was Raquel Pennington. I'm going to redo this intro. Next up at UFC 273, we have Aspen Ladd taking on short notice replacement Raquel Pennington. Aspen Ladd is 9-2 overall, 3-2 in her last 5, coming off a disappointing return after a 2-year layoff. Raquel Pennington, 13-8 overall, 4-1 in her last 5. She's riding a 3-fight win streak, and she is coming off a stoppage win, which was pretty impressive, especially for her just 3 months ago. I mentioned Raquel Pennington. She's stepping up on short notice. Aspen Ladd's original opponent, Irene Aldana, dropped. And Raquel Pennington, she is Tecia Torres' girlfriend. They live together. They train together. Tecia Torres is on this card. We just have to assume Raquel Pennington is in shape, and she's in every single one of those training sessions getting in the same work. So while it's short notice and being a training partner is not true fight camp, I imagine her cardio will be just fine. Raquel Pennington is a tried and true vet. She's been fighting the top of the division for about 10 years. If you look at her record, she has only lost to the best women on the planet. Her last losses have all been to current or former champions. She marches forward with strikes, and then she just controls you from there. She's got a pretty boring grappling style, and her last fight is obviously excluded from this, but her last fight was her first stoppage since 2015. So you got to factor in everything, not just that one fight. But she does have that boring grappling style because she's not really looking to get you to the ground. She's not looking to submit you. She just sort of holds you against the cage, controls you, removes whatever tools you may have, and then rides out a decision. But she's got good cardio, and she's pretty sound everywhere. Aspen Ladd, I mentioned she's coming off that. She had a 2-year layoff. She came back, and she lost to Norma Dumont. And she was just a step behind that entire fight. Technique-wise, she's not very technical, but she's really, really tough. She's decent everywhere, and she has zero quit in her whatsoever. She isn't just a wild striker, though. She can grapple. She took down Yana Kunitskaya before her layoff twice. Shajara Eubanks down 3 times. And this is a trickier fight to break down than Irene Aldana because I thought Irene Aldana was going to beat Aspen Ladd. Just touch and go, keep the jab in her face, super fast, and Aspen would be a step behind, just like her last fight. But this is very different. Raquel Pennington is not that type of striker. She just comes in, holds you against the cage. And Raquel Pennington is very good. She's very experienced, but styles make fights. And I think Pennington's style of just hold you against the cage and win a decision, I don't know how well that works with Aspen because Aspen is a dog and she's tough. I don't think she's just going to accept having her back against the cage. She didn't accept anything in that Norma loss. And yes, she was a step behind and really couldn't make up that distance. But she didn't accept any of that. She just continued to fight, continued to come forward, continued to make something happen. I like Aspen Ladd to win here. She's a massive underdog. And this is one of those things. I broke it down and then I looked at the odds. And then when I saw the odds, I'm like, am I an idiot? Am I like way off here? And I get it. Raquel Pennington has literally only lost 2 champions. She's only lost to champions in the UFC. Every loss is a champion. But styles make fights, and I think Aspen trying to get off that cage, not accepting that, staying busy, throwing hands, knowing that her career is sort of in the balance. Both of these women fighting at 135 instead of 45. You know, I like Aspen Ladd to win here. I'm not going to do a money line bet on her, even though the odds are fantastic. I might do a plus 3.5, though. Because even if she doesn't win the fight, I think she absolutely wins a single round. because she's got no quit in her. So if you don't know what a +3.5 is, you buy one round. You just buy one round on the judge's scorecard. So all that needs to happen is Aspen wins one round on her own, which come off the cage, throw some hands, maybe get your own takedown. She can win a round. I think she wins the fight, but she can absolutely win one round. And then I bought the other round and your bet cashes. You're only going to get that at weownpicks.com/bets. We have 5 partners. Bet Online is the one partner that lets you buy a round on the scorecard. Jakey, what do you think?
I'll tell you what, Angelo. For the first time,
shut up.
I'm just kidding. I'm done with the lock of the weeks. But I will say, I mean, I do kind of agree with you with this fight. I saw this, and I understand why Raquel is the favorite because she's looked great in her last few fights. She is nasty. And Aspen in her last fight was an embarrassing performance. But if you look at mixed martial artists, Aspen Ladd's the better fighter. I think from top to bottom, except for those kind of clinch situations. I think Raquel kind of shines in those situations. But top to bottom, I think Aspen is the better fighter in this matchup. So, I mean, if you're looking at odds and you're picking a fight, it's hard not to pick the better fighter regardless of how she looked in her last fight. And I actually think that that's going to help her performance in this fight because it was so embarrassing. Not only the way she performed, but the way her coaches were yelling at her in the corner, like, what the hell are you doing? I think she was completely out of it for whatever reason. Maybe it was no fans, maybe whatever. I think she comes out and tries to prove her point. We've seen before in the past in her fights how disgusting. She is nasty. She gets on the ground with those elbows. She is, as you said, just tough as shit, comes in, does whatever she wants to do in those fights typically. That was maybe it was the jitters coming off the layoff. We'll see what happens. I think she comes out and just steamrolls Raquel Pennington. I don't think she's going to be able to put her away because Raquel is tough, but I think she's able to get the takedowns that she used to get, able to land the ground and pound that she used to do. The big question mark is she going to make weight? She's had weight cut issues before. She's missed weight a number of times. Last fight was at the 145. We'll see how she looks on the scale because she's had some scary moments on the scale before. So it'll be interesting to see how she looks on the scale. If she looks fine, I'm going to be all in on Aspen Ladd. I don't have any bets on her right now. She's not my lock of the week. She is my pick in this fight. And I agree. I think people are underplaying the importance of Tisha being on this card too, because that does mess with you. And we've seen that before with, I guess, JP buys and Cheyenne not buys anymore. But we've seen that happen. People, spouses and boyfriend or girlfriend and stuff on the cards. I think it messes with you mentally. I really do. So Tisha being on the card, I don't like that for Raquel. I'm picking Aspen Ladd.
I'm very surprised that we agree here. I thought for sure nobody else agrees with me. I'm seeing every comment for my quick picks was just trashing it. So I'm surprised we agree here. Aspen Ladd, $7,300.
I mean, people forget how good Aspen Ladd really is. They saw that last fight and they're like, oh, I mean, she's good. She's a very good fighter.
Well, and she had a 2-year layoff. Like, it was 2 full years. And people, Dominic Cruz. No, it was a 2-year layoff. And it affected her. And she was fighting a very crisp, mobile striker. And that is not what Raquel Pennington is. So we're surprisingly aligned on this fight. DraftKings, $7,300. Listen, we said it. You need underdogs for your DraftKings lineup because there's some tremendous favorites that unfortunately are worth the money. So I think she's a solid underdog at $7,300. I'm seeing comments, this is a 50-50 fight. So if you think this is a 50-50 fight and you're going to get these kind of odds and this kind of DraftKings pricing on one of them, you got to do it. You got to do it. I'm assuming you agree. You're nodding your head. Monkey Knife fight, it probably is more. I don't think there's a stoppage here. Both these women will go at it. They're both super tough. And honestly, it's probably more or less because Raquel Pennington is not a high volume person. So it's probably more or less. What do you think of the Monkey Knife fight strike line?
I think it's a more. I agree. I think this is, if there was ever a fight that I was going to put a lot of money on to go decision, it's probably this one. They're both tough. They both just stay in the pocket. Neither one of them has crazy power. So
yeah,
more.
Okay. Wow. Look at us agreeing on everything. And if you want to check out Monkey Knife Fight, go to WeWantPicks.com/MKF. They will instantly match your deposit up to $100. Next up at UFC 273, we have Jairzinho Rozenstruik taking on Marcin Tybura. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, 12-3 overall. He's 2-3 in his last 5, alternating wins and losses. Marcin Tybura is 22-7 overall. He's 4-1 in his last 5, coming off the decision loss to Volkov, where he just could not find the takedowns. And Jairzinho Rozenstruik's a very heavy-handed striker. He's coming off that one-sided loss to Curtis Blades, but before that, he had a really nice win over Augusto Sakai. And what was interesting about that fight was that we saw Jairzinho pushing the pace, moving forward, and historically, he's sort of a counter striker. He waits, he takes his time, he just throws one big punch, and he ends up falling behind in the scorecards and losing a decision or just finding that big punch and making something happen. The biggest issue with Rozenstruik's style is if he can't win the striking exchanges, he has no backup plan. He has 0 takedowns in the UFC, and his takedown defense does sit at 75%. He has been taken down by basically every decent heavyweight that he has fought. Curtis Blades, obviously, Cyril Gane, and even Alistair Overeem all took Jairzinho Rozenstruik down. And Marcin Tybura is a grinder. He never quits. He's busy everywhere. His striking is just okay, and he is more of a punches and punches kind of guy. And the strikes are really there just to set up his takedowns, though. And if he gets a takedown, he will pound on you until you quit. He's not looking for submissions. He's not looking for precision. He will take you down and just busy on top, try to make something happen. And there was a period in time where Tybura was a stepping stone. He had losses to Verdum, Derek Lewis, Shamil, and Sakai. And then he sort of put things together, and he's gone on his own streak, and he's had a lot of his own success recently. I think this is as simple as striker versus grappler, this matchup. You know, Rozenstruik's a very good striker, but he can have low volume. Tybura is a very, very solid grappler for a heavyweight, but he has had chin issues in the past. The odds makers, they have Rozenstruik just moving as, you know, the line's moving a little bit. He's becoming a bigger favorite as the week goes on. I like Marcin Tybura. I think Marcin Tybura should actually be the favorite. I think it should be minus 120 for him instead of plus 130. So I think Tybura's got a real clear path to victory here. Just take Rozenstruik down, work from there. Obviously avoid the big strikes. So Tybura's the pick, but you got to be very careful when you have anybody fighting a giant heavyweight striker like Rozenstruik. Checky boy, what do you think?
I think that Josh Locks just donated $20, and that's the most incredible thing I've ever seen in my life. Thank you,
Josh Locks. Thank you very much for the donation. As always, it is incredibly appreciated, and hopefully we continue to make you some money.
Yeah, and speaking of locks, for the first time ever, I'm not doing that. But I see this almost as the same as the Aspen Ladd fight. I look at that fight and I say I think Aspen Ladd is the overall better fighter in that matchup. I look at this fight and I agree with you. I think that Marcin Tybura is overall the more well-rounded fighter in this matchup. And I 100% agree that this is grappler versus striker. It's either going to be Rozenstruik knocks him out going for a takedown, or Tybura is able to get the takedown and wins the fight. So I don't think there's a lot of breakdown in this fight. I think it's very cut and dry. Either Tybura is able to get the takedowns. He was 0-16 on takedowns versus Volkov. If he does that again, he's going to lose the fight just like he lost that fight, or he's going to get knocked out. He's got to get a takedown early, establish that grappling ability, wear down Rozenstruik a little bit so those power shots aren't quite as powerful later on if he does happen to land on them. But yeah, I think this is 100%. Either Rozenstruik gets the knockout or Tybura gets the grappling advantage, is able to control him. And with that said, I'm with you. I like Tybura in this fight.
Yeah, and you mentioned he couldn't get the takedowns against Volkov. And if you go back and watch our breakdown going into that fight, I said he was going to struggle with those takedowns because he relies on holding you against the cage. Like, his takedowns are not Curtis Blades. He doesn't lower his level, take a shot, and shoot a takedown. He bullies you to the ground. He holds you against the cage, trips, drags. And Volkov is just too tall, too long, can spread the legs really wide and defend those. So he was never going to have that success against Volkov with the way that he wrestles. But Jairzinho Rozenstruik is not very, he's got wrestling takedown defense because he's just strong. He just lifts underhooks, where I think Marcin Tybura can get him against cage and get that done. But certainly his teeth can leave his mouth in that fight as well. What I will say is, Monkey Knife Fight has something called Knockout Kings. You pick any 3 fighters on the card. Any 3 fighters on the card. And if any one of them wins by KO or TKO, you get a 25% net return on your profit. If 2 win, you 2.5 times your money. Rozenstruik, while I think he loses, he absolutely can win by knockout. He should be one of your 3 in Knockout Kings. Check that out at weonpicks.com/MKF. What do you think of DraftKings? I'm not comfortable enough with either one of these guys probably to put in DraftKings.
Pass.
I agree. There's a lot of fights on this card. You do not need to force anybody into your DraftKings lineup. And I just mentioned Monkey Knife Fight. Don't even mess with the strike line. Just throw Rozenstruik in your Knockout Kings. Do you agree, Jacob Lines?
100%. I don't know what you said, but 100%.
Okay, well, we've got you trained
You got
like
me
a
trained.
dog.
Yeah, there you go.
Next up at UFC 273, we have Ian Garry taking on Darian Weeks. Ian Garry is 8-0 overall. He's obviously 5-0 in his last 5, and he's coming off a knockout win in his UFC debut. Darian Weeks is only 5-1 in his career. He's 4-1 in his last 5, and he's coming off a decision loss in his UFC debut. And before I continue with this breakdown, Gabriel Tor with a $50 donation. That is incredible. Thank you very, very much. That is incredibly appreciated. And hopefully this insight is helping you win as much money as possible. And that's how you can afford to give us this. So thank you very much. That is very appreciated.
Wait till you hear this pick.
Well, I hope I don't let you down.
Refund.
I hope I don't let you down, Gabriel, but thank you very, very much. Ian Garry is pretty young in his career with only 8 fights, but just like his last matchup, the UFC marketing machine is going to be looking for him to get a highlight win so they can push him hard. He's a good striker. He's got crazy hand speed and fantastic footwork, and we learned a lot from his last fight, and it's not all good news. Yes, if you're a Tapology person and you just want to look at Tapology, he won by knockout, and that seems impressive. But he was on the wrong side of most of those striking exchanges, and he actually tried to wrestle. So this is the striker that everybody says is the next Conor McGregor, and he's out there trying to wrestle because he was on the wrong side of some of those exchanges. He's hittable. You saw that. You can see that with his negative striking differential. And I think Ian Garry has a ton of potential, but he needs to clean up some of those things so he doesn't lose to more technical strikers. And Darian Weeks, he's coming off a loss in his UFC debut. That was against Brian Barberena. But he did have 4 takedowns, and he landed more strikes in that fight. Darian is a wrestler who's very comfortable striking. He's got real power in his hands, explosive takedowns, and he has legit submissions, so he's a threat. There's a ton of tape on him, and one of the most impressive things I saw breaking down tape, and I mentioned this last time we broke him down, is he defended a takedown against Craig Fairley, and it was incredible how he defended it. Craig got the single, picked it up, did all the things, was pressuring, all the things you're supposed to do to get a takedown. And Darian Weeks just kept his composure, leg clean in the air, had incredible balance, never panicked, and had zero issues getting out of that. And that was a guy at the time who was only a few fights into his career. So his composure is very, very impressive. And he is incredibly athletic that he was able to balance and work through that. And that is something that I factor in for sure. I think the UFC set this fight up because they're hoping to build Ian. They trust his power, his striking. They trust his ability to keep the fight standing. And if the fight stays standing, he should win. I'm just not sure if it's going to stay standing. Darian had great success against Brian Barberena, who's also a really fun striker. And the odds right now, we see they're moving. Ian Garry opened as a 2-1 favorite. He's now almost a 4-1 favorite. They continue to move for Ian Garry. And man, Darian Weeks, I mentioned he had success against Brian Barberena. He had 4 takedowns, but he was hit 108 times. And I think Ian Garry's got more power than Brian Barberena, and if he hits you 108 times, that could be a problem. Man, I picked Ian Garry when I broke it down last week, and I'm this close to picking Darian Weeks. Man, I think I might throw a buck or 2 on Darian Weeks.
Do it. Just pick him. Please just pick him for once. Just say you're going to pick him. Just pick him.
All right, I guess I'm changing my pick to Darian Weeks. Ian Garry just looked bad in that last fight. He gets hit, dude, a lot. What do you think?
So your official pick now is Darian Weeks?
I guess so.
All right, I'm going Ian Garry 100%. This dude's going to get knocked.
Idiot.
That dude is going to get flatlined inside of 30 seconds. No, I'll be honest with you. When I have my sheet right here in front of me, I highlight the name of the person that I pick, right? they are both highlighted on my sheets. I wanted so bad to pick Darian Weeks. I was seeing the same thing you were seeing. I love the wrestling ability. Ian Garry in that last fight, I've rewatched that last fight a few times, just getting absolutely, I don't want to say destroyed by Jordan Williams, but he was getting to a point where he was like, oh shit. And that first round was going to Jordan Williams until that last 5 seconds, that little exchange they had where he was able to get the knockout. Darian Weeks can wrestle. He's got to slow this fight down. He's got to slow this fight down. This is a nice bouncing in and out pace. Boom, boom, boom. This is going to be Ian Garry's fight, and he's going to look like what everyone thinks he should look like, because this is an opponent that he's going to have the speed advantage, and that's why, unfortunately, I did pick Ian Garry. Obviously, he's a huge favorite. The odds are crazy. I respect you 100% for going Darian Weeks. I wanted to do it, but I rewatched a few of those fights. I rewatched that Barberino fight. And Weeks is just a little slow to me. Just in those exchanges, he just doesn't quite have the speed that I think that Ian Garry has in the striking. If he's able to use the grappling and wear down Ian Garry, and we'll see what happens in the second and third rounds if he's able to do that, I think this fight can be very, very interesting. Could be a live odd situation. If this gets out of the first round, if Darian maybe is able to get a takedown, but Ian is winning the striking exchanges, Darian could be after the first round could be a plus 700, plus 600, something crazy on those live odds, and we'll see what happens. But I wanted to pick Darian Weeks. I picked him originally, then I went back and rewatched it. I don't like the speed and the striking or the defense in Darian Weeks. That's why I ended up going with Ian Garry. But I respect you 100% for making Darian Weeks your lock of the week, and we'll see how it plays out.
So I've broken down this fight three times.
Big balls, Angelo. Lock of the week. Wow.
I've broken down this fight 3 times this week. I've picked Ian Garry every single time, but I've always said it's like so stupid razor thin. Like I think it's I really do think it's razor thin. I said after Ian Garry's last fight, I was like, there's no way I'm picking this guy in his next fight. Any technical striker is going to light him up. The problem is Darian Weeks is not a technical striker, but he does have volume. He is tough. I mean, that Brian Barberena fight, he was in that fight. He statistically won the fight. He landed more strikes and had 4 takedowns. He won that fight statistically. And he's a tough guy, he's an athletic guy. So I'm just going to do it. This is such a tough card. It's
fun picking big underdogs, isn't it? Especially when you make
it's miserable and nerve-wracking. It's such a tough card because there's a lot of close fights on here, and there's a couple of giant favorites. So everybody's going to get the giant favorite ones right, and then the undercard is a mess of close fights to go either way. People's pick records this week are going to be very, very interesting. So we'll see what happens.
Total?
I think is there 14 or there's 13 because we lost.
Yeah,
Kelvin?
I'll probably go 14-0 then.
Yeah, that's probably. Anyway.
13. So 13 over me.
I'm not spending, even when I was picking Ian Garry, which, we'll see come the weekend, $9,200, he's not worth that. I don't think he's worth that. This is too close of a fight. And I don't know why everybody thinks Darian Weeks is like some bum that's going to get knocked out. Why? Ian Garry's 8-0. Everybody's acting. People making the Conor McGregor comparisons are absolute fools. That dude was hit more in that one fight than Conor McGregor was hit in his entire UFC career leading up to the Nate Diaz fight. Like, come on. He was lit up. He looked awful in that fight.
I respect it sounds like you're trying to convince yourself right now. I just say it sounds like you're trying to convince yourself that Darian Weeks is the good pick. So I've been there.
I know
what you're doing right now.
Are you spending the $9,200?
Listen, once you make some of your lock of the week, you got to really go all in. So I respect it.
$9,200?
No.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Well, I said it's a close fight. I said I wanted to pick Weeks, but I wasn't gonna make it my lock that you did. So.
I'm not touching Monkey Knife Fight in this fight either because, anything could happen. Anything could happen. A dangerous striker versus
what a great breakdown.
Powerful wrestler.
That is right. Anything could happen, probably.
So not happening. I'm leaving this one alone. But if you want to throw some extra money in your wallet, go to wewantpicks.com/bets. We are giving away $50 to every single person that goes to wewantpicks.com/bets, signs up with any one of our 5 betting partners and makes a deposit. You get $50. It's that simple. wewantpicks.com/bets. And then next up at UFC 273, we have what is probably my most controversial breakdown this week. People, the amount of time people have spent arguing with me about this fight is insane. We have Mackenzie Dern taking on Tisha Tiny Tornado Torres. And Mackenzie Dern is 11-2 overall. She's 4-1 in her last 5. She's coming off that one-sided loss to Marina Rodriguez. And Tisha Torres is 13-5. She's 3-2 in her last 5. And she's coming off a dominant win over Angela Hill. Mackenzie Dern, she's an amazing grappler. And she's trouble for anybody that she goes to the ground with. Anybody on the ground with her is in some sort of trouble. Her striking has improved over the years, but she's definitely not a striker. And sometimes she's way too comfortable striking, where she's just coming forward, bombing away, and not even looking for takedowns. And the issue is, even if she's looking for takedowns, she's not very good. She's not very good. She has a 10% takedown accuracy, and cue Angelo's rant on phenomenal grapplers that can't wrestle. It makes no sense. I don't know how you can literally be, at one point in time, the best human being. If you look at the planet Earth, at one point in time, Mackenzie Dern was the best on that entire thing at jiu-jitsu. The best. And she just never spent the time to learn wrestling takedowns. I just don't understand how you can be that
She was
good
probably
on the
too
ground.
busy trying to learn English.
That's my second rant, which is coming up. But I will never understand that. She's not the only fighter. She's just the most obvious one that struggles from this, because she's stupid tough. Stupid tough, phenomenal on the ground, zero takedown offense. Makes absolutely no sense. Tisha Torres is good absolutely everywhere. She's got very nice boxing. She stays in people's faces. She's a good grappler with good wrestling, insane cardio. Her only losses since 2017 have been decisions and to the top women on the planet. All but one of them is a former champion, and that one, the one was Marina Rodriguez, who could absolutely be a future champion. I was hoping when this opened that everybody was going to be on Mackenzie Dern, literally because of the name. But Tisha Torres actually opened as a medium-sized favorite, and the money has moved. Tisha Torres is now underdog on a lot of cards, or even, and here she's even an underdog on these odds, which is honestly surprising me. And I'll never understand how somebody could be that good at jiu-jitsu, not have the wrestling. Mackenzie Dern, if this is a grappling match, dominates. I don't see her getting takedowns. She has a 10% takedown accuracy. She's not going to take down Tisha Torres. Tisha Torres is not somebody that gets taken down all the time. She's got crazy fast hands, incredibly mobile, insane cardio. I think Tisha Torres wins. I think she dominates. I got a moneyline bet on Tisha Torres at this point. And my last little rant, Mackenzie Dern's accent is fake. Somebody spent literal hours today writing full paragraphs to me about Mackenzie Dern's accent. And listen, she grew up in Arizona. Yes, her father is Brazilian. My parents are not from America, and I grew up in America, and I don't need a translator after my fights. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. The accent is fake.
Well, the translator was for the Brazilian fans. It wasn't for her.
What are you talking about? She speaks perfect Portuguese.
I know she was speaking English, but he translated Portuguese for everyone listening.
No, George Gurgel was translating Portuguese to English for her.
No, he was doing it for.
Okay, shut up. You're wrong. Pull it up. And she's done it in multiple fights. Anyway, Tisha Torres, love the pick. I love my own pick. Picking Tisha. I imagine most people are on that side as well, including you, Jacob. What do you think?
Yeah, Mackenzie Dern, listen, former lock of the week, and for the first time ever, Angelo, we have she's not about
Yeah, I'm not.
Former lock of the week. I love Mackenzie Dern for obvious reasons. I've called her a number of times the Francis Ngannou of the ground, right? If you land in Francis Ngannou's fist in your face, you're gonna get knocked out. If you go to the ground with Mackenzie Dern, you're gonna get submitted. That's what's gonna happen. Just 100% of the time, you will get submitted if you're on the ground with Mackenzie Dern. So I am biased in my love for Mackenzie Dern. I former lock of the week, blah blah blah. I think Tisha Torres dominates this fight, and she might even finish Mackenzie Dern. Not like she's not a powerful knockout, but I think it's one of those volume up against the fence because Mackenzie's tough. But I think it's going to be the rest. Fight back, boom, 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 boom. Tisha's just all over, late second, third round, can finish Mackenzie Dern because this fight is not going to go to the ground. Mackenzie Dern is not going to be able to take Tecia Torres down. Tecia Torres has been around the block. She knows not to go to the ground. Mackenzie Dern, she's not that stupid. Unless something weird happens, something like trip. We saw that with the Blood Diamond and Jeremiah Wells fight, where Jeremiah Wells kind of like fell down, and Blood Diamond for some reason jumped on top of him and ended up getting submitted. Tecia Torres isn't going to do that, but maybe some weird exchange happens to where they end up on the ground and Mackenzie's able to get a submission win, a Hail Mary submission. That's really their only chance. I mean, in the striking, Mackenzie has done better in the striking. Her only losses are the two best women in the division in Marina Rodriguez and Amanda Ribas, and she lost striking battles to both, but she hung tough, and she is tough, and she will be there. Tecia Torres, just her volume and her precision in the striking, she's going to bust up Mackenzie Dern's face. It is going to be a bloodbath in there. I'm Tecia Torres all the way, and I am very biased to Mackenzie Dern. I love Mackenzie Dern, love what she does. I love Ryan Hall because of his jiu-jitsu. I love Mackenzie Dern for her jiu-jitsu. I don't think she gets a chance to use it. I'm Tecia Torres all the way in this fight.
Yeah, and I was going to say at least a good bet here would be Mackenzie Dern wins inside the distance, decision, no action, but that's minus 375. So that's
it's a crazy. Yeah, I saw that too. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's not happening. We agree here. I think Tecia Torres is great value at $8,000 in DraftKings, except the fact that I actually don't think she scores very well, because without takedowns and without control time, you're really just relying on strikes to score points, and strikes are literally a fraction of a point in DraftKings. So as high as I am on Tecia Torres, and I have a money line bet on Tecia Torres, I don't think she'll be in my DraftKings lineup. I'll have to look, but because I don't think she gets a stoppage, and just strikes don't necessarily add up to a ton of points. What do you think?
I don't know. Last against Angela Hill, she landed 166 strikes. If she's able to do that, Mackenzie Dern, as tough as she is hittable. There's a reason why you're tough, right?
Yeah.
You show toughness when you get hit and you don't get knocked out. And nobody knows really if you're tough, you don't get hit. Mackenzie Dern is very, very hittable. Tecia Torres is going to be all over her from the opening bell. I'm not going to play her $8,000, but I don't, if people want to play it, I can see the value there. Yep.
Well, Monkey Knife Fight, I think it's more and more. I think it's a war. I think it's a decision. And when I say war, I don't think it's close. I just think it's, Mackenzie Dern is, I'm trashing her accent and her wrestling skills, but she's tough. She's very tough.
Her nose is going to break inside of 30 seconds. She always breaks her nose. She's going to be bleeding, but she'll probably be there. She'll probably be there late. I honestly think that Ticia's going to be able to finish her, but we'll see what happens.
And listen, this read could be way off, because Mackenzie Dern, who has proven to be an elite level athlete. I mean, she literally was one of the best on planet Earth at a combat sport. So I've seen some of you comment she's the worst mixed martial artist I've ever seen in the history of it. That's crazy. That's crazy to say, because she at one point in time was the greatest in the world at something, and nobody in our live chat could say that. And if she's taken sort of that commitment, those abilities, everything that got her to that point in the jiu-jitsu world, and has focused nonstop on her wrestling, she can be a threat. And she may come out with a wrestle-heavy game plan and look good. That is a possible outcome.
I would love that if she came out and shot like a double and got Tecia down and submitted her. I would be all over that. That'd be incredible.
It's literally better for the division if Mackenzie Dern smokes Tecia Torres. It is better for the division. Fresh blood finally living up to the hype. I don't think it's likely, because we can only work with what we've seen and what's happened in matchups, and everything we've seen up to this point tells us that won't happen. But again, elite level, Olympic gold medal level, because there is no Olympics, right? Olympic gold level medal athlete in here. And she's still young. She's not old and used up. She's 11-2. She's still young. She's still learning. And she's tough. You see some of these people with those credentials come in here.
Toughness.
You can't. And how many times have we seen people with that level skill set and they turn, I don't want to get hit. That is not Mackenzie Dern at all. So I'm not trying to trash her. The fact that she can't get it to the ground is the problem. But if she focuses on that skill set, she's a big deal. But Tecia Torres is the pick. I got the bet. And I think Monkey Knife Fight more and more is clear as day. WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up. Make a deposit. Let us know after you do. We send you $50 as a thank you for supporting us and our partners.
Look at her ribs. Oh my God, look at that.
Is it the same tattoo? It's a heartbeat and then but yours is your dog paw or something, isn't it?
It's a heartbeat.
It's to a dog paw, and that's to somebody's name. But
Right,
look at you
Raquel.
guys. Two peas in a pod. Two peas in a pod. Next up, at UFC 273, I think we have what is honestly probably the most highly anticipated fight on the card. I'm actually more excited for this fight than some of the others.
The people's main event.
Yes, you said that in like a chant voice, but no chant actually came after
The
that. So
main event.
fix your inflection before you start jumping in. We've got Gilbert Burns taking on Khamzat, not Kazmat, Angelo, in your stupid Connecticut accent. Khamzat Chimaev. Gilbert Burns 20-4 overall. He's 4-1 in his last 5, coming off a nice win over Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Khamzat Chimaev is 10-0 with 10 stoppages. The guy is a beast. Gilbert Burns bounced back after that Usman loss. And in that fight, let's not forget that he dropped Usman and showed that he had some very real power. But he bounced back after that to have a very dominant grappling win over Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He took Wonderboy down 3 times, and he controlled that entire fight. And historically, Wonderboy was a guy that had some pretty solid takedown defense. Gilbert is a grappler who has developed some striking over time. He's pretty good everywhere, and his power is really impressive in his hands, considering that he's a 155-pounder that moved up to welterweight. Khamzat Chimaev is an interesting guy to break down because he's incredibly dominant. He seems unstoppable. So we haven't seen any examples of adversity. So I don't know how he's going to react if he gets taken down, if he gets hit in the mouth, right? We just don't know what's going to happen there. But he's very good. He has very good wrestling, very good grappling, very good ground and pound, legit hands, and he sets an incredible pace. He's always hitting you with something. He has that Khabib-style chain wrestling with an added layer of striking. His stats are insane. He has 4 fights in the UFC, and he has only been hit 1 single time in 4 fights. 1 single strike in 4 fights with 4 opponents has land. That's it. He's taken everyone down in the UFC except Gerald Mearshart, who he knocked out in just a few seconds. And I'm really excited for this fight. It's a massive step up for Chimaev, which, I think we all want him to, we just want to see how good he actually is. He fought 4 people who could not sniff the top 20, let alone the top 5. This was another comment I made that people went nuts talking about, Jing Lang was top 10. Jing Lang was top 10. How could you say he's never fought an opponent? Shut the hell up about that nonsense. Jing Lang is top. Get out of here. Anybody who watches me talk for 2 hours, break down fights in incredible detail, and then argues in the comments about 1 sentence is an absolute muppet with too much free time on their hands. The point there was nobody Chimaev fought was ranked anywhere near where Gilbert Burns is. And this is a massive step up. Gilbert Burns is a wealth of experience with power in his hands. He's got his own grappling offense. He's only been taken down 2 times in his last 11 fights, and that was by Damian Maia. So both those takedowns were from one person, and he stopped Damian Maia. But I do think Chimaev absolutely dominates here. His wrestling is ridiculous, and that's the clearest path in the world. It is hard, or it feels hard to just quickly dismiss Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns is going to get smoked. But the reality is styles make fights. Gilbert Burns needs to grapple to win. Look at his wins. They're grappling wins outside of a handful. He is not going to out-wrestle Chimaev. He's not going to take Chimaev down. Impossible. And who's he submitting? When was the last time you saw Gilbert Burns throw up a triangle or an armbar from bottom? That's not going to happen. Gilbert Burns gets taken down, beat on, unfortunately. All the credit in the world to him to taking this fight. This is not nobody wants to take this fight. Gilbert Burns ranked very high. It's just a really bad matchup for him because I think there's actually people ranked lower than Gilbert that would have more success against Chimaev than he would. So clear pick, obvious pick. I think the odds are correct. What do you think, Jake?
I actually was a little bit higher on Gilbert Burns than most people leading up to this fight the last few weeks. I was like, I think that I like Gilbert Burns, and this is why I like him, because he'll be able to survive. A lot of people against Chimaev, they get to the ground and they're clueless, right? They don't know what's going on. He's able to submit him, TKO, whatever. Gilbert Burns is a world-class grappler, jiu-jitsu guy, no-gi, world champion, whatever, the gold medals, whatever it is. So I think that he can survive. And in that surviving, we're going to figure out if Chimaev is able to do the same things he's doing in the second round. late second round, in the third round? Does he still have those abilities to control the positions against a guy that's been there? He's been in those positions time and time again. Gilbert Burns, I don't think anyone in this division has probably trained more in those defensive positions more than Gilbert Burns. So I like his ability to survive in the matchup. And if this thing starts turning, late second, early third round, it really only takes one scramble win for Gilbert Burns to win, where all of a sudden this thing gets very interesting. If Gilbert Burns is on your back in the late second round, the third round, this thing could get very, very interesting. Is that going to happen? Probably not. And Chimaev is probably going to pick, Burns up over his head in the first round, throw him to Dana White and said, bring me your next opponent. He should dominate his fight. There's a reason why the odds are as wide as they are. And the thing that I hated more than anything in the world, I watched a video of Gilbert Burns training, right? He's leading up to this fight. It's this big training, whatever. His coaches are talking. Wait till he shoots. Wait till he sees your guillotine. Wait till he sees your guillotine. He's going to lock up that neck. If Gilbert Burns, I mentioned this to you, Angela, if Gilbert Burns is going in with the strategy of, I'm going to get a Hail Mary guillotine submission to beat Chimaev. If that is your strategy, not I'm going to offensive wrestle, I'm going to do this. I have these, abilities in the striking. I can hit him here. If your one game plan is, I'm going to get a guillotine versus Chimaev you're going to end up on your back and you're going to get elbowed to the face until you are unconscious. I hate that strategy. I hope that was hopefully maybe even a joke by the coaches just to throw it on film just so Chimaev is worried about it. But this should be Chimaev all the way. If this goes to getting, late second, late third, I hope it does. And I hope that Chimaev is still able to dominate. I hope he is who we say he is. But, this is kind of a tough weight cut for him going down to 170. He's a 185er that fights at 170 also. He had the towel out one weigh-in. He was holding on to the towel. We'll see how he looks on Friday with the weigh-ins. But this should be Chimaev all the way. But, I'm a little bit higher on Burns than most people because I think he could survive and things could turn late.
Yeah, I mentioned it's hard to just dismiss the number 3 ranked guy in the world like he's nothing. Versus, I guess Chimaev is ranked now, but the reality is he has 4 fights in the UFC. So, but styles make fights, and ultimately that's what this is. It's just a very bad stylistic matchup for Gilbert Burns. I don't like him at $6,800. I love Kazmat at 94. I think you have to have Chimaev in your lineup at $9,400. I think you need to. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you have to. I think you have to.
Yep. I'm not placing a bet on the fight other than I'm going to parlay the 3, my 3 picks in the feature co-main and main. But other than that, I'm not going to place a bet on Chimaev. Maybe inside the distance if you want, but Gilbert Burns is tough. And it's only a 3-round fight. Monkey knife fight, I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it because we just don't know. We haven't seen enough out of Chimaev to bet a round line or bet strikes. He's destroyed everybody, but this is a different opponent.
I think it's more. I honestly think that Burns' ability to survive is going to surprise a lot of people. He knows what he's doing on the ground. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to survive. If you're that good in jiu-jitsu, you know how to position yourself.
Yeah, but elbows in the mouth are elbows in the mouth. You know what I mean? We'll see. We'll see. But 68. I don't even know how Chris got to that number. 68. The dude's landed 11 fights in the UFC. 68.
Probably because he could put 69. Because I know how Chris is. Well,
if you guys want to check out Monkey Knife Fight and give it a stab, go to WeWantPicks.com/MKF. It is daily fantasy. It's super fun. There's a strike line on the screen, and you say, I think that fighter's going to land more or less. And if you're right, you win money. WeWantPicks.com/MKF. And if you want $50 free dollars, 50 free dollars from us to you, go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our betting partners, and we give you $50 as a thank you. Next up, at UFC 273, we have the co-main event of the evening, and we have a rematch that we have waited quite a while for. We have Aljamain Sterling taking on Petr Yan. Aljamain Sterling, 20-3 overall. He's 5-0 in his last 5, coming off the DQ win over Petr Yan in their first matchup. Petr Yan, 16-2 overall. He's 4-1 in his last 5, coming off a very close decision win over Corey Sandhagen. It's been a year. We've been waiting a year for this fight, and we all remember what happened last time, but let me remind you, because I am positive a lot of you, like I did until I rewatched it, remember Petr Yan kicking the crap out of Aljamain Sterling, but that is not what happened. That is not how that fight went down. We all just remember the theatrics that Aljamain did, and that's just manifesting in our head that he was getting smoked and Piotr. No, Aljamain Sterling had a lot of success in that fight, especially early on. Aljamain won the first round on some judges' scorecards. Definitely won the second round. Literally every single judge in that fight gave the second round to Aljamain Sterling. Overall, as a fight, Aljamain landed 97 significant strikes. Piotr only landed 86. Yes, Piotr went 7 for 7 in takedowns, but he had 4 minutes of control time. Aljamain only had 1 takedown, but he did also have a reversal, and he had 3 minutes of control time. And I'm not saying Aljamain Sterling won that first fight because he obviously did not. I think the DQ was nonsense. The theatrics, I agree with all that crap. My point is, it was not the murder that everybody is remembering that it was. It was not that. Aljamain Sterling is a rangy striker with solid grappling. He started his career as a grappler and has takedowns in every single win before 2018. But over time, he sort of developed his own striking style where he uses kicks really well to manage range, and he almost lands 5 significant strikes per minute, which is good volume, and he only absorbs 2, and that's because he does such a good job with his range and his footwork. Piotr Jan is a phenomenal striker with fantastic takedown defense. He's a nightmare for anyone that can't outstrike him, and that's pretty much everybody in the division. He plots forward with a Muay Thai style guard and then blasts away with power and accuracy. And to cap that off, he's a very good wrestler who averages more than 2 takedowns per fight. But taking him down is not easy to do. He's got 90% takedown defense over 9 UFC fights. We've already seen this fight. And the first fight, we saw Piotr winning. Since then, I think Piotr had, I said a close fight against Sandhagen. It wasn't super close, but a lot of people thought he was just going to put Sandhagen out, and he didn't. He lost a round in that fight, and I know he's a slow starter, but again, we've seen him against Sandhagen. Wasn't exactly a one-sided absolute destruction. Aljamain Sterling in that same amount of time has been dealing with some pretty serious injuries. Listen, I am picking Piotr Jan. I think Piotr wins. We saw him win the first time. I think he's the better striker. I think he's proven that his power doesn't go away. His cardio is solid. Aljamain's cardio sort of died in the last fight. And Piotr's wrestling is legit. He went 7 for 7 on takedowns. Aljamain Sterling only went 1 for 17 because of the gas. So Piotr's the pick. But I think the odds are a little bit wide. Of the 3, I think Piotr Jan is the one that actually can lose on Saturday night. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, let me preface what I'm about to say with Jan should win the fight, right? He's a 400 favorite. So if you're going to come at me with like, oh, you crazy, Jan's going to win the fight. He should win the fight. He's a huge favorite. He should win the fight. He should dominate the fight. With that being said, I'm picking Aljo, man, and I'll tell you exactly why. Everyone went to harp on the 1 for 17 takedowns. That first takedown was easy. That thing was butter easy. What happened in that fight was Aljo got a little aggressive in the striking because Piotr is a guy that will let you hit him, right? He's a high guard, shells up, and he'll let you hit him. Aljo was hitting him or thinking he was hitting him and just kind of blew his load in the first round and couldn't get the takedowns late because of that. But if you watch that first takedown, that thing was easy. That thing was butter. And people do not respect Aljo for the wrestler and grappler that he is. And I think if he goes all in on the wrestling and all in on the grappling and just focus on that, forget the striking. You're not going to win a striking battle. You're going to keep punching his guard. You're going to wear yourself out. If you are going to strike, hit the body, go for the body, then go for the legs, go for the takedowns. If Aljo goes all in on the wrestling, all in on the grappling, which I think that he will. He trains with Merab. He trains with Ali Quinta. They've got a good team there. I think that he can steal this fight. Not only is there a chance, maybe a submission. I don't think he's going to be able to submit Piotr Jan, but I think he can win a decision this match if he goes all in with the wrestling because that first takedown was so easy for him. And if you watch in that second round, he won that second round. Even in the third round, there was a lot of times where he's in on a single, right? He made it all the way in on a single. He's holding onto a single. Jan is against the fence, and he just couldn't get quite past that position. But if he goes all in on the wrestling in this time, and he's able to get him down the first, second, he didn't outstrike himself, or he didn't gas himself with the striking. Now he's in on the single. Now he gets no takedown. Okay, now that's 2 rounds, right? Now it's the third round. Okay, he was in on a single in the third round of the last fight, Now he has the energy because he didn't gas himself. Now he gets another takedown. He's winning the third round. Now all of a sudden he has 3 rounds banked already, and Jan has to finish the fight to win the fight. I think that's a very, very good possibility going to this fight. People are underestimating Aljamain Sterling in the wrestling, in the grappling. Again, people are going to be like, oh my God, I can't, oh my God. Piotr Jan should win this fight. He is the better fighter, probably top to bottom, except for in the wrestling. Grappling is probably even. I just think that there is an outside chance that Aljo comes in, all in on the wrestling, takedown control, win the first round, takedown control, win the second, takedown. I'm just saying, I'm picking Aljo. I know it's not going to be a popular pick. There's going to be blowback. If Piotr Jan just dominates him, that's what's supposed to happen. I'm picking Aljo.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously completely disagree with that pick, but I'm looking at the live chat here, and everybody's making excuses for Piotr, which is so funny because Piotr was winning that fight, but everybody's making excuses talking about, well, he always takes the first round off. But he lost the second round to Aljamain Sterling. The second round is the round that every single judge gave to Aljamain Sterling, not the first. The first round, yes, a judge gave it to Aljamain Sterling, and then a lot of people think Aljo also won that round, but it was the second round that he gave up. So already making excuses for a guy who won the fight seems a little bizarre to me. I think Piotr Jan does win this fight, but I am sympathizing with Aljamain Sterling here. I think the odds are a bit wide. What do you think? Oh, and Piotr Jan has no corner. His corners did not get approved. They're from Russia. They didn't get approved to come to America. So he has no corner, and there's all sorts of funny drama on Twitter. Go check it out of what UFC superstar will be in his corner.
Yeah, he invited like Sugar and Henry, but Sugar said on his podcast he's not going to do it. So I will say that obviously Sterling lost that first round. He got knocked down in the first round. But if you watch that, I think it was the fourth round, like beginning of the fourth round, Piotr hit him with the most solid 1-2 I have ever seen. Boom, boom, like across the chin, and Sterling just ate that. So I know he got flash knockdown in the first, but he ate a very, very good Piotr Jan shot in the fourth round when he was tired, when he was exhausted. That's usually when people fold. I don't think it was like a cardio exhaustion thing. I just think that he punched himself out because he was still moving forward in the fourth round. He was still moving forward. He was just a little bit sloppy in what he was doing. So Aljamain Sterling is going to surprise a lot of people.
I agree. And then somebody just commented, Aljamain Sterling literally got dominated the whole fight, scorecard aside.
Scorecard this guy. Yeah, so except for the judges who determine who wins and loses the fight, yeah, he got dominated.
And the fact that he literally landed more strikes. He literally landed more strikes than Piotr Jan did. So, listen, I think Piotr Jan wins, but this is not Chimaev and Burns, okay? You want to say Burns has 0% chance? I'm not going to argue with you. Aljamain Sterling,
path to victory.
Yeah, Aljamain Sterling is the livest of the 3 underdogs in the big 3 fights. DraftKings, I'm not spending the $6,900 because I don't think he wins. But listen, you want to throw Volkanovski and Chimaev in your DraftKings lineup, and there's not much budget left because those dudes are expensive as hell. This is a 5-round fight, and Aljamain Sterling could be worth $6,900. You agree?
I think it's very good. I think it's a pretty good value.
Yeah,
because Jan will give him a round, right? Everyone has already established that he's probably gonna lose it. He'll give him a round, and if Sterling doesn't mess around the feet and goes with the grappling, this could get interesting.
Yeah, and Monkey Knife Fight 105 to 146. I hate playing the Moors when we're talking about men over one something. Those are very, very high numbers, but it might be a more or less situation or a less situation. Because either Jan, potentially gets a finish there, or Sterling grapple, and takes away a lot of those strikes. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's probably a less because I don't think there's going to be as many opportunities for either one of them to strike in this matchup. Because I think Sterling knows that he lost the striking exchanges, and it's going to be more of a grapple-heavy game plan. Yeah,
so it'll be interesting. But if you want to check that out, you want to place some of those. They're not really bets because it's daily fantasy. But if you want to do that, WeWantPicks.com/MKF. They will instantly match your deposit up to $100. And if you want 50 free dollars, go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. We have 5 different betting partners. Sign up with any one of those partners, and we will send you $50 as a thank you. Next up at UFC 273, we have the main event of the evening. We have Alexander Volkanovski taking on Chan Sung Jung, or the Korean Zombie. Alexander Volkanovski is 23-1. He's 5-0 in his last 5, coming off a dominant win over Brian Ortega. Korean Zombie is 17-6 overall. He's 3-2 in his last 5, and he's coming off a win over Dan Ige about 8 months ago. And this is an interesting fight because they were going to do Volkanovski versus Max Holloway 12, and then Max Holloway pulled out. So Korean Zombie jumped in on short notice, but then the fight got delayed entirely. So it's not short notice anymore. And Korean Zombie basically has a full camp to fight Volkanovski in a title shot that he only earned because it was short notice. So just interesting dynamic of how he ended up here. Volkanovski, he's been the champ in the UFC for about 2.5 years. We've only seen him fight 2 people. So I don't really love this fight. I do wish this was Henry Cejudo, but I'm just glad it's not Max Holloway again. I'm legit over that fight. Alexander is a very good striker who has legit speed with his hands and his feet. He uses kicks really well, and he uses combinations to set up very clean takedowns. He's a short guy, but he doesn't really struggle finding the head or getting to the hips with the takedowns. He's very strong, but he doesn't possess knockout power. The Korean Zombie has been in the UFC since 2011, but he did have to take a few years off to serve in the military, and that time off definitely slowed down his momentum. But he has worked his way into a title shot here regardless of the circumstances. And that win over Dan Ige was really nice. Zombie's got great striking, very good grappling, and a high fight IQ. He's beaten some of the best guys on the planet like Frankie Edgar and Dustin Poirier before. Frankie Edgar, while Frankie was still good, Dustin Poirier has, I don't think Dustin Poirier's faded yet. So he's beat both of them. And he's also lost to some of the higher level guys too, like Brian Ortega and Jose Aldo. But I do think this is a pretty straightforward win for Volkanovski. I think his work ethic, his pace, his striking volume, his takedowns, I think all of that's going to be too much for Zombie. I think he cruises to a decision. With that being said, Zombie is super tough. He has legit power. Prior to the Ige fight, his last 3 wins were knockouts. They were over Edgar, Moicano, and Bermudez. So Zombie's going to be dangerous, but I just don't think he's dangerous enough. And I think Volkanovski, pretty easy pick. And a parlay piece, I know the odds are crazy, but he was minus 800 just 2 days ago. So the odds are going back down. So it's interesting to see what's happening with the odds there. But Jacob Lines, what are your thoughts?
Jacob Hansen, thank you. I filed the paperwork this morning.
Okay.
Honestly, minus 800 is crazy for a guy that, technically some people think he lost to Max twice. And against Brian Ortega, he had a fight out of 2 positions to where he nearly lost that fight. So I understand that he's the champ and he's been the champ and he's a very, very good fighter. But he could be like 0-3 in his last 3 fights. I hate to play that game, but obviously he should win this fight. He is a better fighter than Korean Zombie pretty much everywhere. Obviously, Korean Zombie's probably got the more power if it comes down to that. But he's the better fighter, but minus 800 seems kind of just absolutely insane for me. I actually might throw a flyer on Korean Zombie because I think he knows that it's kind of KO or bust, right? I think he comes in, this is my opportunity to be the champ. I'm not going to get another opportunity. And this is probably the best case scenario for Korean Zombie against a guy that really isn't probably going to knock him out. A guy that can wrestle but doesn't really rely on the rest, doesn't really force the wrestling. He's a gamer, right? Alex Volkanovski, he likes to put on a show. He knows that people know that wrestling is boring to some people. I'm not going to say Korean Zombie's going to win the fight. Volkanovski is the better fighter, but if you're Korean Zombie, you come in, you bite down on the mouthpiece, and you throw bombs, and you just see what happens, and that's the way you're going to win this title. I don't think it's going to happen. My pick is going to be Volkanovski. I think everyone's pick should be Volkanovski. But minus 800 seems a little bit crazy for a guy that doesn't really finish people against a guy that's got some real power in his hands.
Last time we saw these odds, Amanda Nunes got submitted in the 2nd round. Granted, she gassed, or was that 3rd round? I don't remember. Granted, she gassed, and Volkanovski's never going to gas. My point is, these are fist fights. So nobody, I don't care how many people brag about their fake records in our comment section, nobody gets these all right. These are fist fights. Anything can happen. And honestly, if one of the big 3, if Chimaev, Volkanovski, or Petr Yan lose, there's going to be a lot of broke people. I also parlayed the 3 of them together. I got minus 150.
My big parlay is was the big 3 with I put Mickey Gall. So I have the big 3: Volkanovski, Chimaev, the other one,
Jan,
and then Mickey Gall.
That's not bad because I think those are pretty 3 locks, if you will, and then I think
And I got
should
plus.
down there
It's
too.
basically plus. Yeah, it's plus. I got plus 300 by stacking up all. So it's basically you think all the favorites going to win. Fine. Boom, boom, boom. Now you have Mickey Gall basically at plus 300, which I think is incredible odds for him.
Because he's a plus 160 underdog. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's actually that. Love the strategy and check out our betting breakdown for that. So I think we're all aligned here. Korean Zombie will be live. He's a dangerous guy. He's a talented guy. But everything we've seen from Alexander Volkanovski, the accuracy, the speed, the volume, the pressure, the cardio, it's probably just going to be too much, and he will get this done. I think he's worth $9,500, which is why we spent so much time talking about some of these live underdogs in DraftKings. Jacob agrees. It's probably more. What a giant number for Monkey Knife Fight, but it probably is more. Korean Zombie is tough. And Volkanovski has such volume.
He literally is called the zombie for a reason.
Yeah.
That dude could get hit 900 times. It'd be fun.
Yeah. I mean, so it's probably more. And if anybody has trouble getting to their number, it's probably Korean Zombie, honestly. But that's probably more. Check that out at wewantpicks.com/MKF. It's Monkey Knife Fight. It's daily fantasy. It's fun. It's easy. It's an app on your phone. Give it a try. All you need to do is look at the strike lines and say more or less, and then you win some money. And speaking of money, you want free money, literally free. We pay people, a lot of people, every single day, $50 just for going to wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of the 5 betting partners. Make a deposit. Let us know after you do. I send you $50. It's all right there on the website. Super easy. Just make sure you use our links, and you'll get yourself $50. And thank you all for the watch. This one's a ton of fun. I'm really looking forward to this fight card. I love the week off because doing this shit is a lot of work, but I get antsy. I'm ready to get back into the routine, watch the fights. Jacob, any parting words on your first 3 lock of the week card?
Yeah, I'm excited. Triple lock of the weeks: K. Hansen, Mark Madsen, Mickey Gall, Mickey Mouse. People are like trashing like Mickey Gall in the chat. We both think that he's going to win that fight. And lock of the week. No, this is unprecedented. 10-2-1 to pick all underdogs. Tell me that's not the craziest thing you've ever heard in your life. People could pick all favorites and not go 10-2-1 in the last 13 weeks. So you better put some respect on my name.
No, I hear you. Jacob is going to be running the pre-fight live stream.
Oh my
on
God,
Saturday.
they're back. Here we go.
Jacob will be running the
Yeah.
Jacob will be running the pre-fight live stream on Saturday. So check that out. And one quick comment here. I hate talking about other people's channels, but
Hot
Little
girls.
Seal said Burt MMA picked Malott to win. Dude, Burt MMA is like a shirtless 12-year-old kid, and it is straight up child pornography to watch that dude's breakdowns. Straight up. He's shirtless, and he's like 12. It is straight up illegal. Do not do it. Don't do it. It's creepy as hell. Creepy as hell. Anyway, that's the breakdown. And for the record, government, I swear to God, I didn't watch it. I watched none of it. I have no part of that. I'm clean as a whistle.
Yeah, you seem to know what's really going on over there.
Well, because we do these breakdowns. YouTube's like, you might like this video. And then I click on it. It's like, oh, I absolutely do not like this video.
Well,
Jeez.
it's kind of, they're suggesting some crazy stuff to you. Usually that's
It's
based
like
on search history. Usually that's, I don't know.
It's like King
when
of
you talk about
Queens when
something and then you get an ad on Instagram because you were talking about it. I don't know.
it's
Talk
like
about
King of
shirtless
Queens. It's like King of Queens where TiVo thinks Spence is gay based on his
Right.
viewing. So anyway, we're out of here. Thank you so much for watching the breakdown. Like, subscribe, do all of the things. And Jacob will see you on Saturday for our pre-fight live stream.